Hello students, welcome to JCE Connect. We are discussing about module 4 of subject Basic Electronics, and this is lecture 7 of this module 4. And in this lecture we are going to discuss about IC 555 timer and how the IC 555 timer can be used as a stable multivibrator. So to start with, what is an IC 555 timer? Right, the 555 timer is the most popular and versatile integrated circuit ever produced. 555 timer is produced by Signetics Corporation in the year 1970. Basically, this 555 timer is a combination of both digital and analog circuit. It is known as time machine as it performs a wide variety of timing tasks. Basically, timer is used to generate precise time delays. IC555 is used to get a precise time delays, hence it is called as time machine. And IC555 timer can be used in variety of applications. It can be used as a multivibrator, that is, it can be used as a ramp generator, square wave generator. Then it can be used as a frequency divider. As I said, basic application of timer is to get the precise time delays. It can also be used in VCOs, that is voltage control oscillators. It can be used in pulse detectors, or it can also be used in LED flashers. So as I said, it is used in variety of application because it is a combination of both digital as well as analog circuits. So this is the pin diagram of IC555 timer. It is basically a 8-pin dual-in line package integrated circuit. It is a 8-pin dual-in line package integrated circuit. So you can see here, this side there are 4 pins and the other side there will be 4 pin, which is shown here in this particular pin diagram. And those 8 pins which are there in this pin diagram of the IC, they have a dedicated functionality, or the work they are used for a particular purpose. And the pin description of all these 8 pins of the IC555 timer is shown here. So you can see the pin number 1 is a ground pin which is connected to 0 volt. Pin number 2 is called as a trigger input, which is used to trigger the IC. Pin number 3 is the output pin. Pin number 4 is the reset pin, right? So all these pins functionality again will be more clear when we see the internal structure or the architecture of the IC555 timer. Pin number 5 is the control pin. Pin number 6 is the THR, that is timer pin, and pin number 7 is a discharge pin, that is THR is threshold pin, sorry, and pin number 7 is the discharge pin, and pin number 8 is the VCC pin, and this VCC can vary from around 5 volt to 15 volt. That is, these are the pins of the timer 555. This is the internal functional diagram of the IC555. Don't go panic by looking at the block diagram or the functional diagram of the IC555. So what exactly it consists of is, it consists of 3 resistors to form a voltage divider, so that the VCC supply is divided into 3 part, that is 1/3 of VCC, 2/3 of VCC and VCC. So here across this resistor will get 1/3 of VCC, across this resistor will get 2/3 of VCC, and here will get that is full VCC. That is the 3 resistors, they are used to get what is called as a voltage divider. And then the 2 important comparators will be having here, and these comparators are constructed using op-amp. So one comparator will compare the voltage with the 1/3 of VCC, that is lower comparator, and the upper comparator will compare the voltage with 2/3 of VCC. Right? Then there is one SR flip-flop, and the output of the SR flip-flop will decide what will be the output of this timer IC555. And then we have 2 more transistors used here. This is the transistor which is used for resetting purpose, and this transistor is used for the discharge purpose. So this is what is there, and this is actually the inverter or the power thing which we can get the output, right? So this is the block diagram of IC 555 timer. We have the different signals like a pin such I have told in the previous slides. All these pins are shown here, like threshold pin, control pin, trigger, discharge, right? And then the reset and the output, and VCC and the ground. That is the block diagram. I already told it consists of 2 op amps, SR flip-flop, 2 transistor and a resistive network. Right, comparator 1 compares the threshold voltage with the reference voltage, that is 2/3 of VCC, and comparator 2 compares the trigger voltage with a reference voltage, that is 1/3 of VCC. Output of both the comparators is supplied to the SR flip-flop, and flip-flop assumes its states according to the output of the 2 comparator. Based on the output of the comparator, the flip-flop will be either in the set state or the reset state, because we already studied SR flip-flop. One of the 2 transistors is a discharge transistor, and the transistor saturates or cutoffs according to the output state of the flip-flop. Base of another transistor is connected to the reset input or the reset terminal, so that a pulse applied at the reset terminal resets the entire timer irrespective of any input given to it. So that is about the brief explanation of this. So what you have to remember here is what is there inside the 555 timer. There is a voltage divider formed by 3 resistors, and this will divide the VCC into 3 parts. 1/3 of VCC, 2/3 of VCC, and the final upper resistor will have the entire voltage of VCC. 2 comparators which are constructed using op amps, and the output of the comparators is given to SR flip-flop, and then in addition we have 2 transistor, right? Then the very important application of this 555 timer which we are going to study in your syllabus is how timer can be used as an astable multi-vibrator. Now what exactly you mean by multi-vibrator? Basically, multi-vibrator is nothing but square wave generator, or we can say relaxation oscillator. Already we have studied in the previous lectures what is oscillator. The oscillator which generates non-sinusoidal signal is called as non-sinusoidal oscillator or the relaxation oscillator, and this multi-vibrator is an example of a relaxation oscillator or the non-sinusoidal oscillator. Basically, multi-vibrator can be operated in one of the 2 modes called astable multi-vibrator and monostable multi-vibrator. So as the name itself indicates, astable means there is no stable state. Like continuously the output will goes on changing, it will not be entering into any of the stable state. Whereas monostable means there is one stable state and one quasi-stable state. Such a multi-vibrator is called as monostable multi-vibrator. So 2 types of multi-vibrators we can have using a timer IC 555, monostable multi-vibrator and astable multi-vibrator. But in your syllabus we are going to discuss only about what is called as astable multi-vibrator. Now how astable multi-vibrator can be constructed using 555 timer is shown in this particular block diagram, or you can call a circuit diagram also, right? And as I said, this is a very important part of the IC 555 timer. You can see here this is the timer used, and you can see all the different pins are shown. Pin numbers from 1 to 8 all are shown. Pin number 4 and 8 are connected to VCC, and as I said, VCC can vary from 5 to 15 volt. We can connect VCC to both the pins. Pin number 4 and 8 are shorted and they are connected to VCC. Next, pin number 1 is connected to ground, and to pin number 5 one small capacitor of 0.1 microfarad is connected, and that is also connected to ground. So 4 and 8 VCC, 1 and 5 is almost ground, but 5 is connected through capacitor. So 2 plus 2, 4. pins are used, and one pin is used for the output. So totally 5 are used. These are the these 5. Now the remaining are 3. So these 3 pins, like what we connect and how we connect there, that decides whether it is working as a stable multivibrator or the monostable multivibrator. So to construct a stable multivibrator, between the pin number 7 and the VCC, we have to connect the resistance R1. Then pin number 4 and 2 should be shorted, and there we have to connect a resistor R2 between pin number 7 and pin number 6 and 2 shorted together. And lastly, between the shorting of pin number 6 and 2 and the ground, we have to connect the capacitor C. So along with the timer IC, external we are using 3 components, that is resistor R1, R2, C, and these 3 components, 2 resistors and capacitor, decides like the nature of output waveform generated. Obviously it is a square wave, but how much time the square wave remains high and how much time the square wave remains low, and what is the time period of the generated square wave, depends on these 3 elements, that is resistor R1, R2 and capacitor C. So we'll see how exactly this stable multivibrator generates a non-sinusoidal signal or the square wave. So just quick, whatever I explain is put in this slide again. A stable multivibrator is also called as free running oscillator. Why it is called as free running oscillator? As I already told, there is no stable state here, right? So once the supply is given and the resistors R1, R2, C are connected, the circuit or the oscillator or the multivibrator starts generating the square wave. Hence it is called as free running oscillator. That is, no external trigger signal is required in case of a stable multivibrator. Whereas in case of monostable, you have to give the external trigger signal. Whenever it is triggered, it will give you one stable state and one quasi-stable state. But here there is no stable state, hence it is called as free running oscillator. Right? And it continuously switches between the 2 voltage levels without any external trigger. And it can be work as an stable multivibrator with the help of those 2 resistors R1, R2 and the capacitor C. So how exactly a stable multivibrator works? That is what is explained here. I'll give the summary of this, how exactly it works. Initially, whenever power is on, that is upon power on reset, the flip-flop will be reset. Since the flip-flop is reset, means what? Its output Q will be 0. You know that RS flip-flop will have 2 input R and S and 2 outputs Q and Q bar, and the outputs will be always complement of each other. So whenever the power on is given or whenever power is applied, the flip-flop inside the timer will be reset. As a result, the output of the flip-flop will be low. And because the output of the flip-flop is low, the discharge transistor present in the block diagram, you just recall the block diagram of the timer. This is what is the discharge transistor. Because its output is low, so what happens? This is off, and the discharge transistor will be like off, and the capacitor will start discharging, right? As a result, the discharge transistor is driven to saturation as it is connected to Q bar, right? The capacitor C of the timing circuit is connected at pin number 7, and it will discharge through this discharging transistor. Sorry, when the output of the Q output is low, Q bar is high, and that Q bar is connected to discharge, so transistor will be driven into saturation. As a result, it provides a discharging path, and the capacitor C will discharge through this transistor and through the resistance R1. And the output of the timer at this point will be low. Now voltage across the capacitor is nothing but the trigger voltage. So when the capacitor is discharging and when the capacitor voltage falls below 1/3 of VCC, the comparator output 2 will become high. That is, by the time the capacitor is discharging, its voltage level goes on decreasing, and if this voltage of the capacitor falls below 1/3 of VCC, comparator output 2 will high, and this will set the flip-flop, that is, it will make the Q output of the SR flip-flop high, and hence the output of the timer pin goes to high. That is, when initially power is given, output of this timer will be low and the discharge transistor will be on. Capacitor goes on discharging, and when the capacitor voltage falls below 1/3 of VCC, comparator 2 will be on, and as a result it will set the SR flip-flop, and the output of the timer, that is the output at the pin number 3, will go high. Now this high output will turn off the transistor. As a result, the capacitor now stops discharging and it starts charging through resistors R1 and R2. That is, when the lower comparator output is high, the capacitor will stop discharging and now it starts charging through the resistance R1, R2 and the capacitor C will get charged towards the supply voltage VCC. So when the capacitor C starts charging and when the capacitor voltage reaches 2/3 of VCC, the reference voltage of the upper comparator will be, when it reaches to 2/3 of VCC, the comparator output, that is upper comparator or the comparator 1 output, will become high, and when the comparator output 1 will become high, the flip-flop is reset. The flip-flop is reset and the output of the timer falls low. This low output will once again turn on the transistor which provides discharge path to the capacitor, and the capacitor will again goes on discharging through the resistor R2 and the cycle continues. So here you have seen that the capacitor continuously discharges through resistor R2 when the output of the flip-flop is low, and capacitor will go on charging towards VCC through resistors R1 and R2 when the comparator output is high. So due to this continuous charging and discharging of the capacitor, we get what is called as a square wave at the output of the timer, that is at pin number 3. Right? So for how much time the output remains high and for how much time the output remains low, that depends upon the values of R1, R2 and C. Right? So the rectangular pulses or the square wave we are obtaining, and the how much time the output remains high and how much time the output remains low depends upon the values of R1, R2 and C. And since when the capacitor is charging, it is charging through R1 and R2, and when the capacitor is discharging, it discharges through R2. So when you write the charging time, we have to consider resistors R1, R2 along with the C, and when we write the discharging time, we have to consider only the resistor R2 and the capacitor C. So these are the waveforms that we get at the output of the timer as well as across the capacitor. This is the output waveform which we get at the pin number 3. Here you can see that it is basically a high-low signal which remains on for a certain time, which we can denote it as T on, and this is called as T off, and the entire T on plus T off is called as the time period T of the generated waveform by the stable multivibrator. And if you see this waveform, where we get this particular waveform, this is the capacitor voltage which we get across the waveform, and you can see here capacitor starts charging from 1/3 of VCC. It will go on till 2/3 of VCC, and when it reaches 2/3 of VCC, it starts discharging. It will discharge from 2/3 of VCC to 1/3 of VCC, and when it reaches 1/3 of VCC, right, the lower comparator output, upper comparator output will be high, and it goes on charging towards like a VCC. But by the time it reaches 2/3 of VCC, again the output will go low. You can see here when the capacitor is charging, output will be high. When the capacitor is discharging, output will be low. So by varying the discharging and charging time interval of the capacitor, we can get varying duty cycle square wave at the output of the timer. Now what is this duty cycle? Duty cycle of a signal or a square wave is nothing but how much time it remains on compared to the total time period. So duty cycle D is defined as T on divided by T on plus T off into 100%, because normally it is expressed in percentage, or we can write duty cycle D as T on by T, because T is what? T on plus T off. Now quickly we'll see what is the charging time interval, discharging time interval. So what is the total time period of the square wave generated at the stable multivibrator, and what is the frequency and the duty cycle. Now since the capacitor charges through resistors R1 and R2, it can be shown that the on time is given by 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C. It is charging through R1 and R2, so right? R1 plus R2 into C, that is called as the time constant of the capacitor, R into C. So R1 plus R2 into C into 0.693 gives you the on time. Similarly, can you tell me what will be the off time? Because off time means it is a discharging time of the capacitor. So when it is discharging only 3 or 2. So we can write T off equal to 0.693 into R2 into C. So you can see here we have used both R1 and R2. Here we are using only R2, right? Therefore, the total time period T is sum of these two times, that is T on and T off. So T is equal to T on plus T off. So T will be equal to 0.693 into R1 plus 2R2 into C. That is the total time period of the square wave generated at the timer. Now we know that frequency is reciprocal of time, or time is reciprocal of frequency. So we can write F equal to 1 by T, right? So F is equal to 1 by T. T is 0.693 into R1 plus 2 R2 into C. So it becomes 1 by 0.693 divided by R1 plus 2 R2 into C. So the frequency of the square wave generated is given by 1.44 divided by R1 plus 2 R2 into C. That is the frequency of the signal generated at the timer. And from this you can see that the frequency entirely depends upon the external component connected to the timer, that is values of R1, R2 and C. Now next we can find the duty cycle of the stable multivibrator. As I said, by definition duty cycle is T on by T on plus T off, or T on by T into 100%. So substitute the values of T on and T. T on is 0.693 into R1 plus 2 R2 into C, whereas T is 0.693 into R1 plus 2 R2 into C. So if you substitute this and this here, we'll get the duty cycle for a stable multivibrator using 555 timer is R1 plus 2 R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into divided by R1 plus 2 R2 into 100%. That is the duty cycle of a stable multivibrator. That is T on. T on is 0.693 into R1 plus R2 divided by C, and T total T is 0.692 into this. So actually there is one small mistake here. D will be R1 plus R2 here. 2 will not come in the numerator. It is R1 plus R2 divided by R1 plus 2 R2 into 100%. Right? So duty cycle D is R1 plus R2. This 2 will not be there in the numerator. 2 will be there in the denominator. That is the duty cycle of a stable multivibrator. Right? I hope you have understood what is a stable multivibrator. Once again, just a quick review of the stable multivibrator. You can see this is the actual circuit diagram or block diagram of a stable multivibrator, which is constructed using a 555 timer and resistors R1, R2 and C. So in simple words, you should remember here is Whenever supply is given, the capacitor starts discharging through resistor R2 and the discharging transistor through the pin number 7 like this. So the discharge time is given by 0.693 into R2 into C. And when the discharging voltage falls below 1/3 of VCC, the above comparator will on and the capacitor goes on charging through R1 plus R2, and the charging time interval, that is T on, is given by 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C. That is the very important thing that you have to remember, and because of this continuous charging and discharging, we'll get almost a square wave like this at the output of the 555 timer, and we get almost a sawtooth kind of signal like this signal at the pin number 6, that is across the capacitor, right? So this is how the 555 timer can be used as an stable multivibrator. So these are the important waveforms here. It is shown here. You can see here, during this, capacitor will charge through resistors R1 and R2, and during this interval capacitor discharges through resistor R2, right? So charging time interval is T on and discharging time interval is T off. Total time interval T is T on plus T off. F is 1 by T, and the duty cycle D is equal to T on by T, right? So with this we'll stop here on the, and we have completed module 4 in full. That is, before I close the discussion on this module 4, just quick revision what all thing we have studied in this module. We started our discussion with the applications of BJT, that is how BJT can be used as an amplifier and how BJT can be used as a switch. That is the first part. Then second part, we discussed about the feedback amplifiers, various feedback amplifier, and one feedback amplifier we have analyzed, that is voltage series feedback amplifier. Then in the third part we discussed about the oscillators. What is oscillator, type of oscillator, and two important oscillators we discussed, RC phase shift oscillator and a Wien-Bridge oscillator. And lastly, in today's lecture we have studied one important integrated circuit timer called IC555 timer. What exactly it is, what for it is used, what is its pin diagram, what is the functional block diagram of the 555 timer, and one application of 555 timer to a stable multivibrator. So with this we close the discussion on module 4. Again, if you have any queries, because all these lectures are uploaded on our JCE eConnect channel from lecture 1 to lecture 7, all these 7 lectures of this module 4 are available. So you can go through these lectures, and if you have any queries, any difficulties, any doubts, you can contact me anytime. Right? So thank you all.